Hi everyone, I'm Amy Rose White. Thanks for being here with me today. I'm going to be talking today about how to prevent the winter blues, otherwise commonly known as seasonal affective disorder. So, seasonal affective disorder or the winter blues is basically can be a mild to moderate, even severe depression that folks typically experience at the onset of the transition between fall and winter and into the darker, colder months of the year, depending on where you live. I live in the Northern Hemisphere in the United States, so that's why the timing of this video right now, as we are into November, and folks start to feel, for a variety of reasons, more cooped up inside, and the amount of sunlight is changing, the amount of time outside is changing, the associations with this time of year are piling up. I'm going to talk about those as we go along, and they might just sort of associate that time with, oh, that's the winter sadsies time for me. So those symptoms might be sadness, hopelessness, not wanting to do things you used to like to do, having a hard time finding joy and laughter and hope in your mind, in your heart and soul, feeling like you just kind of want to eat potato chips and curl up on the couch all day. You may be angry or irritable as well. You could even have some somatic complaints like physical complaints, stomach aches, headaches, aches and pains in your body. So it can really run the gamut. And as always, if you're having thoughts of harming yourself or anyone else, please be sure and see a licensed therapist of any kind or your doctor as soon as possible to find out exactly what's going on for you and access a higher level of support. Even if you don't have a plan to hurt yourself, thoughts of suicide are always an indicator that the brain is a little dysregulated, that you need some love and support and to be heard and have a present witness understanding what you're going through and helping you make a plan. So my perspective around seasonal affective disorder or the winter blues is a little different, and it's a little unconventional compared to other therapists. I work really closely in the integrative and functional medical community. I'm an integrative mental health specialist, meaning that I have special training in using nutrition and nootropics and supplementation and sometimes psychotropic medication to improve well-being, basically. And the longer I practice, I've been in the social work mental health field for over 20 years, and I've worked as a therapist for 13 years. So the older I get and the more I practice and the longer I'm around, the more I read, the more trainings I attend, the more personal life experience I have, the more folks I work with, the more I am really convinced that most, if not all, certainly many, emotional health diagnoses are infectious in nature. And what I mean by that, and I actually believe that's true for all disease states, but that's a topic for another video. And maybe I'll bring a doctor on when I talk about that. But when it comes to mental health and emotional health diagnoses, we're thinking about infectious disease processes. What we're really talking about is inflammation. And in the literature, it's been very clear for at least 15 to 20 years now that there is a correlation between inflammation and symptoms of depression and anxiety and OCD and PTSD and all the other host of mental health illnesses or mental illnesses or disorders. Again, not a huge fan of that word, that we talk about. Inflammation is in the body, systemic inflammation, cellular inflammation. That is married to those symptom expressions. And I believe that the literature is more and more convincing around the relationship between the immune system being activated and something called pro-inflammatory cytokines, which just means the immune system is pumping out special cells to try to deal with an agent in the body that it doesn't like. So when I say infectious disease, process and inflammation, what I'm really talking about are viruses and bacteria that are low-lying in the body kind of all the time until stress or change in the seasons or an environmental exposure activates that infection or activates the immune system or suppresses the immune system so the virus can grow, and then the immune system recognizes it later, which is actually the case in pregnancy. The immune system is suppressed during pregnancy, and then after a person has a baby, the immune system wakes up again and then starts to attack whatever is going on. So as an example, a lot of us have oral cold sores. I think it's something like 80% of the population on occasion will get a herpetic lesion, herpes simplex. Is it one? I think it's one. They're essentially the same, just different locations. They'll get them maybe if they're stressed, if they're fighting a cold, if they have too much exposure to sunlight and they're not wearing sunscreen on their lips, they'll get a sore on the corner of their mouth or on their lip. So that's an example of a low-lying, unactivated viral infection that can become reactivated given the right trigger. And I believe that at the end of the day, in the next 10, 20 years, we're going to find out that there's all sorts of viruses in that family. It's actually the Epstein-Barr family, the herpes family, cytomegalovirus, H. pylori, lots of other bacteria and viruses that our immune systems are tackling, the side effects of which of the viruses and bacteria themselves and our immune system's attempt to attack them all result in mental health symptoms. So from that vantage point, that's the vantage point that I'm going to be speaking from in terms of tackling and preventing winter blues or seasonal affective disorder. If you have any questions or you want to disagree with me, give me some other information, feel free to note it in the comments. This is my personal and professional philosophy based on lots of years of practice, but it's just my opinion. And it is based on what I've seen work for many of my clients and even myself and children and even really friends, anyone who will listen to me in terms of helping our immune system so that we can experience a better and improved emotional well-being. So let's start with some concrete tools. One is to recognize there's lots of different factors that are happening in the winter. A lot of us will turn to comfort foods. We will be exercising less. We will be eating maybe more, it starts at Halloween if you happen to celebrate that with sugar and junk. And then we have Thanksgiving close behind that with all sorts of, things that we make. Now, depending on whether or not this particular Thanksgiving you're going to be with your family, you may or may not be eating the same way that you have in the past. But then the holidays, whether it's Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or Christmas, are usually filled with lots more comfort food. So what all that comfort food does ultimately is builds up in the liver, and it can create a sluggish liver. And the reason the liver is so important is that it is our major detoxification pathway. And if it's cleaning itself out well, then our immune system can flush out the cells and bacteria and viruses we don't need. If it gets backed up, because we've been eating junk now for a few months, maybe we've, in the summertime, we just felt like salads and green smoothies and we were eating better and we're outside and trying to deal with the pandemic by taking lots of walks or hikes or biking, or whatever you do, you're likely to find that detoxification pathway is not moving along the way it did before. So being aware of that and continuing to eat as many fresh fruits and vegetables as possible is really important. Putting lemon juice in your water. My clients have to see me sipping on this all day. This is always, well, look how low it's getting. It's because I drink it all day. I fill this up. I actually leave this on my bedside and then I drink one of these before I get up. And then I keep refilling it throughout the day, and I try to get at least 4 quarts of water in my body with the lemon juice. I squeeze it and then just drop it in there. I'm gonna take a quick drink right now. Tastes so good. So the liver really likes lemon juice. It balances it with vitamin C, which is excellent for the immune system. It helps flush it out, helps keep things moving. So I'm not going to go too much into diet today, but to be aware that if you can drink more water, more fruits, more vegetables in the winter months, you will help keep your liver clean and able to detoxify any pathogens that could be contributing to the winter blues for you. And if you notice that you are really craving starchy foods and sweets, and carbs are actually really great for the brain, processed sweets not so much, that can simply be a sign that your liver is struggling actually, and that you need more nutrition in the form of cleaner food and perhaps supplementation, as well as maybe amino acids. And I'm going to talk about those at the end of this video. So what other ways, supplementation-wise, can we aid our immune systems during the cold, dark months to improve our mood? So zinc is huge. Lots of literature that shows that it shortens and prevents, shortens duration and can even prevent full-blown cold symptoms. I think that's true for lots of other viruses and bacteria that can result in illness. Zinc sulfate liquid, 15 to 30 milligrams is typically recommended. Any of the suggestions I'm making to you today, please run them by your healthcare provider, but generally they are all considered safe and not contraindicated with other medications. And you know your body best, so start low, go slow, and see how you do when you're adding any of the nutritive supplements that I'm talking about today. Vitamin C, these are kind of basic, but we might not think about them in the context of seasonal depression. Vitamin C in high doses is extremely helpful for the liver to clean itself out. It's very helpful for the immune system. I actually, in the winter months, take 4,000 milligrams, that's 4 grams of vitamin C every day. I never get sick anymore. And I actually have a history of complete immune system crash, dysregulation a few years ago. I have rebuilt my immune system. I used to get everything under the sun during that time in my life, and I really never get sick anymore. Maybe one very mild cold during the week or during the winter. So vitamin C to bowel tolerance is typically what naturopaths recommend, and that means starting, with 500 milligrams and seeing how you do. At higher levels, it can give people diarrhea. It doesn't do that for me. TMI, but gradually increasing your milligrams to 1 to 2 to, if you want to go full bore like me, up to 4 or 5. This can really seal the gate of the cells in terms of being vulnerable to a lot of those bacteria and viruses that then lead to inflammation, that then lead to some of these depressive symptoms. Vitamin B12, particularly in liquid form, is really essential for mood and cognition, as well as immune system function. 1 to 2 dropperfuls under your tongue, usually in the morning, because it tends to give energy, can be really key for seasonal depression symptoms. Lemon balm tincture is another one of my very favorites. Lemon balm is a nutritive herb. It's considered a nervine, which means that it soothes the nervous system and helps calm us down, which most of us need around the holidays, much less everything that's going on at the state of the world right now. So lemon balm can be taken in tea form, capsules, tincture, whatever is most appealing to you. It can be found in natural food stores, certainly online. And it is excellent for anxiety. It is very supportive of the adrenal glands that can get burned out from stress and lead to seasonal depression symptoms. And it's wonderful for the immune system. As someone that would occasionally, when I was getting sick, get a cold sore in the corner of my mouth, once I started taking lemon balm tincture every day, I never get them anymore. It was a miracle change in my life. Another way to support the immune system, particularly when it comes to any viruses, is L-lysine. That amino acid is very important for the immune system, and it can especially help with those kinds of herpes family viruses. So I'm going to talk about 3 more, and then I'm going to move on to some other concrete strategies. So the greens in the form of spirulina or even chlorella can really help keep your system clean and get the trace nutrients, those micro and macro nutrients and minerals that are hard to get in the winter food months. So that can be very helpful for supporting the immune system, as can golden seal and nettle leaf. And so everything, again, I've said so far, these are generally compatible with lactation or chest feeding and pregnancy, and generally not contraindicated with medications, but please ask your healthcare provider and make sure they're right for you. All of those are very supportive of mood, cognition, immune system, and decreasing inflammation. Another tip I would make around preventing SADSs in the winter is to get a full spectrum bulb that's like for growing plants. They're usually like $15 online or at Home Depot or wherever is open near you. And you want to put it in a lamp that you are going to be exposed to at least 20 minutes a day. So for me, I have this weird little bathroom that's next to my bedroom, and that's where I get ready in the morning. So I actually leave it in all year. It is not extremely flattering. It shows all the wonderful details of our faces. But I noticed a difference a few years ago when I started using a full spectrum bulb. So it mimics sunlight basically. And there's a lot of evidence behind using light box therapy for seasonal issues. So I encourage you to do it on the cheap, give it a try. If that doesn't work for you, you can invest in a 10,000 lux or more light box that you are sitting by at least 20 minutes a day. So the key is to simply put it in a light where you are going to be spending that amount of time every day. Now, I haven't mentioned one of the ones that a doctor will typically tell you to take for seasonal depression, which is vitamin D. I absolutely suggest vitamin D year-round, regardless of where you live, unless it's sub-Saharan Africa. You probably are getting enough vitamin D because you're so close to the equator. But vitamin D is actually a hormone, and it is integral to immune system function. So it's important, but it's not as antiviral and antibacterial as some of the other ones that I've talked about. So for sure, consider that. And then if you're still having symptoms, remember that if you are taking medication, psychotropic medication like Prozac, Lexapro, Zoloft, and that works for you, continue taking it. Talk to your prescriber about increasing your dose. If that is working well for you or it has in the past, you might need more during the winter months. If that's something that you are not currently taking or you're actively looking for alternatives to for whatever reason, the amino acid 5-HTP and a molecule in the brain called SAMe, those are both evidence-based treatments for depression and anxiety symptoms. So those are just important to consider as alternatives. They help promote neurotransmitters in the brain that help you feel more like yourself and have a more even mood. So they can be really helpful adjunct supplements to all the things that I've talked about before, especially if your mood is continuing to get worse and worse and some of these things we're talking about aren't helping you. And last but not least, exercise and fresh air. You know, we tend to be inside and not want to go outside in the cold unless you're an avid skier like me, and then it storms and you're running outside. But most of us follow our natural drive to avoid discomfort and stay inside. So that can be not as helpful when we're having seasonal symptoms. Just 15 minutes of brisk walking can actually make a huge difference. I know you've heard it a million times and you've read it, yada, yada, exercise. I'm telling you, people, if you have seasonal stuff, keep moving your body and try to do so outside if you can. All right, that's it for today. I hope that this has been helpful. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Connect with me. Please like, share this video and subscribe. I love hearing your ideas for videos for the future. And until next time, may you be happy, may you be well, may you be at peace. Bye for now.